Former U.S. national player Alexi Lalas in studio. Alexi, thank you for joining us.
Gentlemen.
All right, so we got a little bit of a up and down segment here. We want to celebrate being a year out of the World Cup in North America. A lot of American cities going to be great. That is on the heels of us getting embarrassed last night in a friendly, giving up 4 goals in 35 minutes. So are you feeling optimistic about the World Cup and all our chances, or pessimistic about last night's results?
All right, so when you talk about the World Cup, I'm jacked up, man. This is going to be awesome. Not only is it going to be the biggest World Cup, just by the numbers, 48 teams, but I think it's going to be also not only the biggest sporting event, I think it's going to be possibly the biggest event in human history. Next summer. That's nice. Has the potential for that to happen. So that's that. And it's a big party, and we get to host it. The world is coming to our shores. It's going to be wonderful. We'll share it with our friends to the north in Canada and our friends to the south, Mexico. So that's that. From a U.S. team. What did you say in the last segment? Digging through the crates, whatever it is? Right. Yeah. So I'm digging through the crates trying to find something here, okay, that I can talk about when it comes to this team in terms of the positives right now. It's not good. I'm not here to spin it. I'm not here to gaslight anybody. It's not good right now in terms of the way that this team a year out is being looked at. There's criticism. I think that is fair. There is angst. I think that is fair. But what is most disturbing, I think, is the apathy that has kind of crept into this team. And if you would ask my former self back in the 1900s when I was running around in 1994, for example, when the Men's World Cup was here, what it would have looked like in the summer of 2025 as the World Cup comes back to the U.S., this is not anything that I would have envisioned. Not plenty of time, a year to be better, and they are going to have to be better in order to not waste that opportunity on the field and off the field in terms of how we are hosting it.
All right, so a million questions to be asked about last night in this 4-game losing streak. There's a lot of like, hasn't happened since 1989. Worst half since the 60s, like type of stuff based on what we've seen from this team the last few months, I guess, during this losing streak. Is there a concern or an element of, because if people don't know, the host countries get auto bids. So U.S., Canada, Mexico are going to be at the World Cup no matter what. And I understand last night was a friendly, so that wouldn't even matter for the qualifying, but still in the lead-up, that there is a lack of, like, intensity or precision because all of, particularly the starting players, the best players, know we're in the tournament no matter what, and that could hurt their ability to get out of the group stage once the tournament actually begins.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a possibility that some of that attitude has crept in. If that's the case, it's sad, and I think it's definitely problematic. Ultimately, Mauricio Pochettino, the new coach, he's going to be judged next summer. And he's kind of, in terms of the players that he's picked, and certainly in the results that he had, now he's putting all chips in on next summer. Fair enough. Maybe he'll live up to all the hype. And by the way, the $6 million a year that they're paying for him. But it remains to be seen what he is going to do. It doesn't matter how good he is. He can't conjure up depth. He can't conjure up a striker in this case when we're looking at this team. Can't conjure up competitive players when it comes to a goalkeeper. So yeah, this is concerning. Last night was concerning against Switzerland. These are good teams in Turkey and Switzerland, these 2 friendlies that they played. They're not great teams, but they're obviously better than us right now, and certainly with this particular team that went out there.
So that's the other thing. If people didn't watch last night, obviously a bunch of the players you're going to see in the World Cup were not playing last night. My concern, though, however, would be if these are guys fighting for World Cup roster spots, and they just get dog-walked like that, and I guess I'm not going to pretend I'm a soccer strategy expert, but I would have liked to see, maybe an on-the-board tackle, something where it felt like a guy who's fighting for a job would be like, I got to go for it. Instead, it seemed resigned to defeat. Is that more about the mentality, or is that the fact that our reserves are actually not World Cup caliber?
Well, I think that's part of it. I mean, look, let me be honest with you guys, all right? I'm on this show today because obviously Fox is invested in sports, in soccer.
Correct.
Totally get it. I will explain soccer to anybody. All right. And so whether it's you or anybody else out there that I know aren't living it day to day, don't have to apologize for it. I love the fact that I can bring you into this tent, and maybe I convert some of you, but I need to make it attractive to you. When you're talking about watching this team, it doesn't matter if you've never watched a soccer game before or if you're knee deep in it. All right. Years ago, the Supreme Court tried to define obscenity, right? They said, well, you can't define it, but I know it when I see it. You guys have all watched sports. There's people out there that watch sports, whether it's soccer or not. You know it when you see it. And too often now, when we're watching this team, we don't see it. Part of it is what you said, in that I think some of them just aren't good enough. But the other part of it, that's non-negotiable. And it's a pity that we're at this point where there are people out there that are saying, I don't know if this team cares. That just is a gut punch to those of us that have been around. And I try not to grumpy old man it here, because we certainly had our problems over the years. But when we were out there, even if we lost, I think that there was a recognition that there is a spirit, there is a hunger, there is a fight. You are going to bleed for this country. And that elicits a reaction from people, whether they're into soccer or not. You can appreciate that. And I can do it with other sports. I know when it matters to the players that I'm watching, even if it's a sport that I've never watched before or I don't know a whole lot about.
You mentioned the head coach, Pochettino, and he was brought in with great fanfare to take our program to new levels. How would you assess how he's done over the first 9 months?
So the interesting thing about this coach is that his whole cachet and his whole sexiness comes from success in the club game, all right? And a club coach coaches every single day, has the players every single day. An international coach has very, very limited time. And so he has no experience doing that. So he's had to come in, hit the ground running, not just with a new team, but also a completely new way of coaching, where you have to get your points across very, very quickly. So you have to be economical, you have to be efficient at what you're doing, and you almost have to dumb it down. And I think that when we were watching this team the last couple of games, they're flying off in a lot of different directions. And at some point, you just got to say, this is who we are. If you're cool with that, cool, you're on board. If not, then get the hell out of here and I'm going to get somebody else in. Because like any sport, it's not about the best players, it's about the best collection of players. And we have yet to see that proper connection of players that knows exactly what they're going to do. They're not going to apologize for it. It's dumbed down, it's simplified, but it can be effective and it can be successful.
Sometimes on the show, when there's a story with a lot of layers, we don't try to get into every little nook and cranny. We just ask something or nothing. Yeah. So, Pulisic,
right?
Landon Donovan, Pulisic's dad taking time off. Landon Donovan actually took it. All this drama. So I'm asking basically a something or nothing. This whole Pulisic drama, not today, but when the World Cup starts, is this going to be still burning somehow?
It's something today. When the World Cup starts, Christian Pulisic is going to be there. And when all is said and done, he may well go down as the greatest American male soccer player in history from what he has done. Undeniable talent. I want him on the field. And he has brought it time and time again for the U.S. men's national team. I just think that this was a lack of reading the room. I don't think he understood the situation that existed here. And this is a bad look for him. It's a bad look for his agent. It's a bad look for U.S. soccer because, as I said, in this moment where we need all hands on deck, we need someone to come in and right the ship, or at least head it in the right direction so that people are more positive and there is some momentum going forward. This is your leader. This is, what I said, is going to possibly be the greatest player in male soccer history from a U.S. perspective.
So it reminded me of LeBron in the bubble when they were trying to figure out all the bubble stuff. And I forgot who it was, but the story was if LeBron says we're going, we're going.
Patrick Beverley said it. Yeah, Bron said we're playing, we're playing.
So I understand Pulisic is tired from, his whole season. I think that's fair, and maybe there's an injury risk. Mm-hmm. But did that have a domino effect on other guys, or if Pulisic decided to go, other guys would still take a break?
Well, there's some guys that are not there by choice. There are some guys that are not there through injury. There's some guys that are not there because they're playing with their club team. So I want to be fair. But this is your leader, And if you have a business, if you have a show or something like that, and the leader said, I'm not going to be there.
Exactly. That's why you can't take days off to play cards.
In a moment of crisis, though. If your leader takes off in a moment of crisis, it's a bad look for your leader, and of course it infects everybody else out there. I think it's not insurmountable in terms of the way that he's going about it. And the fighting with Landon and his dad and all that kind of stuff, whatever. They'll figure it out. And I don't begrudge a family member defending, in this case, their son.
All right, can I ask one question?
Yeah, we got to be positive. We got to.
So listen. Well, no, I mean it's a question you can answer however you want. If I'm remembering correctly, 8 years ago, the U.S. had a game against Trinidad.
Yes.
And I remember it was a really big deal because Fox had just gotten the World Cup.
Yep.
And they were in a spot where as long as they got a draw, they were going to qualify.
Right.
And I had actually just come back from Trinidad. I remember everyone talking about it leading up to it. And Trinidad shocked the U.S. at the very end, and we missed the World Cup entirely. Yeah. It's really a true disaster. Now, Gold Cup is obviously, again, not World Cup qualifying, but we win the Gold Cup every other time. It's us, Mexico, Mexico, basically every time. A 4-game losing streak. We are a better soccer country than Trinidad by volume. You know what I mean? We're higher in the world rankings. We're big favorites. That we obviously should win this match. A, do you expect us to? B, if not, if we don't, does what is right now like, this has been a bad few months, turn into a 5-alarm fire?
Yeah. I mean, if they do poorly in the Gold Cup, even with a team that that is less experienced and in many cases younger, it would be yet another failure, and I think it would be problematic. I think they have to use this Gold Cup, and even with the negativity surrounding this team right now, going into this Gold Cup because of the history like you just mentioned, I still expect them to win this Gold Cup.
Yeah.
And if they don't, it will be a failure, and that's okay. That's fair. But here's the thing: even if they win this Gold Cup, there are going to be people now that will say, "Yeah, but it's the Gold Cup."
Right. Well, it's all going to be graded on how they do at the World Cup, but it'd be nice to win. It's nice to win.
Yeah. In my humble and I guess expert opinion, winning is good. Okay?
That's what I say.
No matter what.
That's my thing.
That is
you guys are always trying to take, silver linings from losses.
Yeah.
It's 1-1. Pacers Thunder. You're like, they got blown out.
Right.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.